device. Right, well, where to start? This is a 2002 Nissan Cube, imported from Japan. Now this was my first car. I've had it for a number of years now, and your first car is everything. I never sold it, and somehow I grew an attachment to it. But it's not necessarily the world's greatest car. While it does have many great points, there are a few things which are not so great about it. So today we're going to go through 5 pros and 5 cons of owning a Nissan Cube. Now, this car was at one stage Japan's most popular car for whatever reason. So surely because of the way it looks, there must be some redeeming features to make it Japan's most popular car. Now, firstly, the Cube isn't a big car. It's actually quite a small car. It's about the same size as a K12 Nissan Micro. But for such a small car, it can fit a lot in it. It's actually classed as a wagon. So the back seats can fold down. It's already got quite a lot of boot space, and because of its unusual shape, it gains a lot of room in the back. Now, I've seen Cubes transport a number of unusual and quite large objects, and no other small car can really do that because of their shape. The Cube's an exception. Also, something that small cars sometimes struggle to do that this one does very well is seat 5 adults quite comfortably. It's got very spacious front seats, but the back seats have a lot of leg room. They actually do sit quite high as well, but because you've got all this room up here as well, you're going to find you get no complaints. Second pro on this list, this car is extremely fuel efficient. The Japanese know how to make a fuel efficient car. Now this thing has a 41 litre fuel tank, and with that you can get about 550 to 600 kilometers on a tank, which is incredible. Now this isn't a light car. This weighs about 1.4 tons, which again is very heavy for a small car. The third really good thing about this car is that you get a lot of attention. Yes, some of it's negative, some of it's positive. It's about 50-50 really from my experience. Now, I own an R34 Nissan Skyline. People who've seen my videos before will know that. And I've driven that for quite some time as well, and I can safely say that the Skyline does not get the attention that this car does. This is not a very common car, nor is a Skyline from where I'm from either, but the fact that this is such an unusual looking car, and it's not like any other car on the road, every second person just takes a longer look than what they would probably like to when you drive past them. Now me, I love attention. I don't care if it's negative attention or if it's positive attention. I just love attention, so that definitely is one of the biggest pros about this car. Being a reliable car, you won't have to worry too much about this anyway, but because the Cube, or this particular one I'm driving, shares an engine with the K12 Micro, the mechanical parts for repairs and such are actually quite easy to come by. As well as mechanical parts, the Cube has a huge range of aftermarket parts available. This can include like your grills, body kits, you name it. Even like the seats in here are specially made to suit this car, which is pretty impressive because they've actually got bench seats in the front. Lastly, well, this car has an amazing turning circle. The wheelbase is so small. Now in Australia we like to do something called chucking a Yui. It's basically a U-turn. Now this thing can do U-turns in areas that other cars would need to perform a 3-point turn to completely turn around. It's incredible. I'll get up the street here and I'll see if I can chuck a Yui. This is a very thin street, this one. I'm going to try and chuck a Yui. Alright, so we're going to pull over to the side here. It's just one lane either way, so I'm just going to pull over to the side here, wait for any oncoming traffic, and I'm just going to full lock. I almost I mean, you basically turn back into your own lane that you start with. It's got such a good turning circle. Now, while the Cube's got, you know, a couple of little perks here and there, arguably the cons are a little bit worse. One of those cons is that this car is extremely high off the ground. It doesn't have a very low center of gravity, and that's not a nice feeling if you take a corner 5 or 10 k's too fast. It feels like you're gonna tip. Or from where I'm from, you get roundabouts and there's like these circle things that you've got to go around, and again, not a very comfortable experience. You can't take corners very fast or this thing will tip. One of the biggest cons is just how slow this car is. This car I'm driving has a 1.4 litre 4-cylinder in it, which is a very small engine for a car that weighs so much. Now, these cars were available with a slightly more punchy 1.5 litre 4-cylinder, but that was for the 7-seater cars and they weighed more anyway, so really not a huge difference. So you're definitely not going to be taking people at the lights. As a matter of fact, I'd go as far to say that even overtaking trucks and such on a highway is something that the Cube struggles with quite a lot. But if you think that's bad, this car has a top speed of 163 kilometers per hour. I'll put the miles per hour up here somewhere. But if I'm being completely honest, I've taken this car out on the highway and I have struggled to get this to even just 110 kilometers an hour, and just that's foot flat to the floor, and I have no idea how long it would take to get this car to its top speed. I don't even think that this car would be able to achieve its top speed anymore without blowing up. It sounds like it's trying so hard at just 110 kilometers an hour, so you are not going to be breaking any speed records, and you're certainly no Fast and Furious in this car. You sort of have to take it slow. But for city driving, really, it's not going to be too much of a bother. Thirdly, this car is extremely noisy, as well as all the odd bumps and rattles and vibrations that you get with this car. Just the wind when you're going at speed is very, very loud. It's not like a modern car where you get in and it's smooth and the suspension soaks up everything and you can't hear anything on the outside. This thing feels like it has walls made out of paper. You can hear everything that goes outside, and because of its unusual shape, it's not very aerodynamic, so the wind hits you very hard, and trust me, you hear all of it. So this car actually is a 4-speed automatic, which tends to be the preferred cars. They were available in a CVT, but the reliability on those wasn't bad, it was questionable at the time. Anyway, the 4-speed gearbox in these automatics were one of the clunkiest gearboxes, and for some reason when you felt like it should have been changing gear, it just wouldn't. It would stay in first for way too long, it would stay in second for way too long, and then when you're going up a hill, it wouldn't drop back into third or back into second. And as a matter of fact, this car actually has an overdrive, so if that overdrive wasn't engaged, you only had the 3 gears to play with anyway, which isn't great if you live in an area with a whole bunch of hills. Probably the biggest con about this car, as much as I love it, is that no one is ever going to take you seriously. You own a Cube and you will get laughed at, and look, I'm fine with that because I don't take myself too seriously, but if you're someone that, you know, takes yourself a little bit too seriously, this is definitely not the car for you. It's a bit of fun, it's about getting a bit of attention, it's about being different. You have to embrace that, and no, you're not going to be taken seriously. That's why I bought a Skyline, and I'm still not taken seriously. But arguably, that's part of the fun, is that you're known for your car. And, you know, this Cube, when people think about me, it's like, oh yeah, he's the kid that drives the Cube. It's part of who I am, you know? I'm different. I like to be different. I don't want to be driving, you know, a Camry or a Commodore like, you know, every other, you know, person does. I want to be different, and this is exactly what this car does. It allows you to be different. The Cube is certainly not the right choice for a bash around the hills on the weekend. It's slow, it does handle a bit sluggishly, but it is one of the most unique cars around, and if you're an attention seeker like me, it's definitely the car to go for. It makes a fantastic first car. I learned so much from this car because you can do just about any modification to this car, so it's taught me so much. They're extremely cheap, and for the amount that you pay for one in good condition, you really can't find a car that's going to get you more attention. For the money you pay, you get a quite reliable, quite cheap and easy to maintain and very fuel efficient car. Anyway, there's your 5 pros and your 5 cons about the Z11 Nissan Cube. Now, this is really just my opinion, but you'll find that it's, I guess, majority consensus over the Cube clubs and stuff like that. It's basically, these are the 5, or 10 rather, the 10 things that are sort of consistent with every Cube of this make. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and we'll see you in the next one. Oh, before you go, we're going to the track this weekend, so stay tuned for that. Peace out.